The first time I saw the backpack, I thought someone must be sitting just off trail having lunch. It was too perfect. Upright, straps buckled, zippers closed, not a speck of dirt or moisture on it despite the dew on everything else that morning. I stopped in my tracks. It was a high-end pack, the kind that costs more than my whole week of gear combined. A rolled sleeping pad was lashed neatly to the bottom, and a carbon fibre trekking pole rested beside it, angled just so, as if it had been placed intentionally. But there was no sound in the forest, no voices, no footsteps, just the wind pushing through the pines and the distant rhythm of a woodpecker somewhere upslope. I called out, "Hello, anyone here?" Then waited, listening. Only my own voice came back, soft and hollow. My boots crunched the gravel as I approached. The air was cool and damp, the kind that makes every breath feel like a sip of cold water. A faint smell of rain lingered in the moss. When I reached the pack, I saw a laminated ID tag tied to one of the shoulder straps. The photo showed a young man, late 20s, smiling, beard. The kind of grin people wear when they're about to start a long adventure. His name was printed clearly. Beneath it, a phone number. It wasn't torn or damaged, and that unsettled me more than anything. Gear gets dropped, but not like this. Not zipped, organised and ready to go. A few yards away, the trail bent around a rise. I walked ahead, scanning for tracks, voices, maybe even a tent nearby. Nothing. Just my own footprints following me. I went back to the bag, crouched down, and hesitated before unzipping a pocket. Inside were expensive ultralight supplies, titanium cookware, neatly folded maps sealed in plastic, an emergency satellite beacon still powered off. Everything was dry, precise, cared for. Whoever owned this had not been careless. Something must have gone wrong. I sat on a log nearby and weighed my options. My own pack already felt heavy from the miles behind me, and adding another like it would be impossible. But leaving it here, exposed, didn't feel right either. Bears could smell food through even the best sealed packaging, and a storm had been threatening since dawn. The sky had that silvery glare that always precedes trouble. My stomach tightened. What if the owner was hurt somewhere nearby? What if they went for help and never came back? The forest felt suddenly larger, emptier. I took a deep breath, tasting the resin in the air, and decided I couldn't just walk away. Not yet. I moved the pack a few feet off the trail to a small clearing where the ground was level and dry beneath a cluster of spruce. The needles there made a soft mat that wouldn't collect much water if it rained. I propped the pack upright against a trunk and pulled my bandana from my pocket, bright red, and tied it to a nearby branch so it fluttered in plain view. Then I used a stick to scratch a message in the dirt near the trail. Pack, here, safe, 10:18. It felt feeble, but it was something. The forest doesn't give you much in the way of communication options. Still, my mind churned through possibilities. Maybe the hiker had gone down to the creek I'd passed earlier to refill water and never came back. Maybe he'd been injured or disoriented, or worse. I thought of the ID tag again and pulled out my notebook, copying down his name and number. I'd call as soon as I had signal. That meant hiking fast. There was a ranger station about 6 miles north. 6 miles isn't far, but the terrain ahead was rocky and clouds were starting to thicken over the ridge. Before I left, I took one last look around, calling out again. "Hey, you out here?" My voice echoed faintly between the trees. Nothing answered but a jay's sharp cry. The quiet afterward felt heavier than before. As I hiked on, every step came with the itch of doubt. I kept glancing back, half expecting someone to come jogging around the bend, waving thanks for watching their gear, but the forest stayed still. The further I went, the more my thoughts tangled with worry. Had I done enough? What if the hiker returned and didn't see my note? What if a storm washed it away? I pictured rain seeping through zippers, food scent drifting through the air, a curious bear nosing around until the pack was shredded across the clearing. I forced myself to focus on the trail. Roots, stones, slick patches where rain had darkened the soil. My boots were soaked with sweat now, the weight of my own pack biting into my shoulders. The air thickened, humidity wrapping me like a damp blanket. The ridge ahead looked darker by the minute. I pushed harder, faster, legs burning, hoping to make the ranger post before the weather broke. But every mile I covered only deepened the unease. Somewhere behind me was a name and a face on an ID card, a story I didn't know yet, a person who'd either made a mistake or never got the chance to come back. The forest keeps its secrets well, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just stumbled into one of them. By the time I reached the ridge, the wind had picked up, one of those moaning, restless breezes that sends shivers through every branch. The sky had gone grey-green, the kind of colour that promises thunder. I paused at an overlook, breathing hard, scanning the valley below. From up there, the trail wound like a faint scar through the trees, vanishing toward where I'd found the pack. Nothing moved down there, no bright jacket, no flicker of motion, just stillness. The kind that presses on your chest. I decided to skip my planned break and keep pushing. My legs were trembling from the climb, but I didn't want to be caught in that storm before I could tell someone. Each flash of distant lightning reminded me that the forest was no place to linger with unanswered questions. When the first drops started falling, I stopped under a broad oak and pulled my rain shell from the pack. The patter turned to a steady hiss, drumming through the canopy, the air filled with that electric scent of wet earth and ozone. I took a quick drink from my bottle, then pressed on, shoes slipping on the new mud. Every few minutes, I caught myself glancing over my shoulder. Some half-wild instinct kept expecting someone or something to be there. The trail narrowed as it descended toward a creek crossing. I almost missed the side track that led to a small campsite clearing. Out of habit, I checked it for signs, boot prints, coals, anything, and there they were. Faint impressions in the damp soil, not old, heading back toward the main trail, fresh enough that they still held shape. My pulse quickened. Maybe the hiker had passed this way recently. Maybe I'd missed them somehow. I crouched, tracing one of the prints with a finger. The sole pattern matched the kind of lightweight boots most thru hikers wear. For a moment I considered turning back, chasing the possibility, but the rain was falling harder now, and thunder rolled so close it made the ground tremble. If someone was still out here, I wasn't doing them any favours by getting myself stranded too. I told myself the best help I could offer was reaching the ranger station alive. So I pushed forward again, every muscle taut, the sound of the storm like static in my ears. The forest was alive with motion. Leaves whipping, branches creaking, water rushing in the gullies beside the trail. It all mixed with the pounding of my heartbeat, the thought looping endlessly. Who leaves a pack like that, and why? Lightning cracked through the clouds ahead, lighting the path in ghostly silver. I kept moving through it, all driven by a mix of duty and dread, until the rain blurred the world into grey. The storm hit in full, just as I crossed the final bridge, a rough span of wet planks over a churning stream. I jogged the last quarter mile, boots squelching, and finally saw the ranger cabin through the downpour. It was a squat wooden structure tucked into the trees, porch light glowing faintly through the sheets of rain. Relief hit me like a wave. I climbed the steps 2 at a time, shook the water off and knocked. A ranger opened the door, a middle-aged man with a lined face and the calm eyes of someone who's seen every kind of panic. "Rough day?" he asked, handing me a towel before I could even speak. I told him everything, the location of the pack, the name on the ID, the fact that it looked deliberately placed, not dropped. As I talked, he grew quiet, nodding occasionally, jotting a note or two in a small spiral pad. When I finished, he exhaled through his nose and said softly, "You did the right thing leaving it marked and coming here." He turned to the radio and started making calls, first to the next ranger outpost, then to a search coordinator. I stood by the window, watching the rain pound the clearing. The forest outside looked like a curtain of shifting grey. After a few minutes, the ranger looked up from the radio. "Name's familiar," he said. "We got a missing person report filed early this morning. Same guy. His car's still parked at the trailhead you came from." My stomach dropped. The idea of that empty car sitting at the edge of the woods made the whole situation suddenly real. I pictured the hiker starting his journey, confident, prepared. maybe even humming to himself as he hoisted that pack. And then, somewhere between the trailhead and where I found his gear, something had gone wrong. Could be disorientation, the ranger said. Could have gone off trail to look for water or shelter. Sometimes they cache their gear if they think they'll circle back. But if he planned to come back, I said, why turn off the beacon? The ranger just shrugged. People make strange choices when they're tired, scared, or hurt. He picked up his coat and hat. We'll start a search party at first light. You rest here tonight, you've done plenty. I thanked him, though the words felt small. That night, as I lay on a cot listening to the storm ease into a steady drizzle, I couldn't stop replaying the image of that backpack. So clean, so deliberate, so wrong in its perfection, standing alone against the wilderness. Dawn came pale and misty, the forest wrapped in fog thick enough to muffle every sound. I stood outside the ranger cabin sipping weak coffee from a tin mug while the search crew gathered gear, maps, radios, a first aid kit, a stretcher folded like an accordion. The storm had passed, but the air still smelled of wet pine and earth, that deep mineral scent that seeps into everything. The ranger, his name was Hal, checked his compass, then gave me a nod. Show us exactly where you left it. We hiked fast, the world slick and shining. Sunlight filtered through the mist in slanted beams, catching drops on ferns and spiderwebs. My legs felt heavy, but my mind was sharper than it had been yesterday. Every turn, every fallen log, every bend in the trail was burned into memory. When we reached the marker I'd made, my bandana still fluttered there, bright red against the green. The pack sat exactly as I'd left it, beads of water glinting on its straps. Hal crouched beside it, inspecting. No sign of tampering, he murmured. Then, more softly, looks like he really meant to come back. He opened the top flap and pulled out the map packet. A small pencil mark showed a route branching off the main trail toward an unmarked gully. We'll start there. I followed as they moved off trail, pushing through dripping underbrush. The ground dropped steeply toward the creek. My pulse thudded in my ears. We called the hiker's name again and again, each shout swallowed by the fog. And then, from somewhere ahead, came a faint sound, something between a cough and a groan. Everyone froze. Hal motioned us forward. 50 yards downhill, under a fallen birch, lay a man, mud-caked, conscious but weak. His ankle was twisted, face pale. He blinked up at us, disoriented but alive. The ID photo had not lied. When they stabilized him and got him upright, he told the story in fragments. A slip on wet stone, a tumble, a night in the rain, too injured to climb back up. He'd left the pack neatly on the trail before descending for water, planning to return within minutes. The storm had come fast, washing away his tracks, trapping him below. Later, as they carried him out, Hal clapped me on the shoulder. "You saved him time," he said simply. That night, back at my campsite, the fire crackled low, the forest calm again. I watched the sparks drift into the dark and thought about that pack, how something so tiny could hold so much chaos behind it. Out here, small decisions echo louder than we realise. The moral, if there was one, felt simple. In the wild, even the smallest act of care, one bright marker, one worried choice, might be the thread that pulls someone back to safety.